Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Kirby. How are you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Fabulous. All right. So last week we had someone come in and they wanted us to do a little bit of a deeper dive into extremism and how kids kind of get into it online and how to protect them. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, that's our topic for today. Okay. So we'll go ahead and jump into the very first thing to share, which is going to be this article, Youth
Mhm.
Radicalization. So Sarah, I'll let you go ahead and start with this.
So essentially, this article is talking about the problem of youth being radicalized or being becoming extremist from indoctrination or from influence activities from like an ideology. Uh, the difference between this and traditionally that I see is prior to the digital environment, um, you know, you still had youth being recruited for extremist activities. For example, during Nazi Germany, youth was recruited for Hitler Youth. And then the Lord's Resistance Army, they recruited youth prior to digital environments. So, and even early digital environments, youth were already being recruited in the late 1990s, early 2000s.
And I think
Um,
you have an article that we have queued up that talks about that specifically, right?
okay, yeah. And so what the difference now though is now is because of the emerging technology is just the speed at which youth are being indoctrinated, recruited, or influenced because it's accelerated.
Mhm.
So this report does highlight that. And then one of the things that I liked about the report was it talks about how instead of a centralized ideology or a centralized organization recruiting youth for extremist activities is now um, it has more of a decentralized nature to it, and that is causing more like lone actor youth extremist activities.
So how did you
So that
detect?
was that was also highlighted in this report. I thought this report was a very well done report, and I recommend it.
Right. Yeah, it's harder to detect when they're going to be doing the lone wolf because they don't need to communicate with like the main group. They don't need to plan things out. I mean, they'll plan things out, but they'll do it themselves, maybe
Right.
without telling anyone, or maybe they'll kind of tell people, but there's no input that no one else is doing it with them.
Right, right. Yeah.
And as far as radicalization, like we were talking beforehand a little bit about how the influence can come into your house without you even knowing it because of the digital nature of it.
Right. And also the cognitive security environment with the disinformation and misinformation, a lot of the conspiracy theories that are currently in the digital environment that are politically targeted. Not a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are targeted to inciting violence, which also influences youth extremism.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This next one is going to be a video. Um, and let me share the screen again. There we go. Online radicalization exposed. How extremists exploit AI. Everything's AI now, right? Gaming and social media. So we'll watch a few seconds of this.
50% of extremist offenders were radicalized online, with far-right networks driving Islamophobic hate across mainstream and fringe platforms. Encrypted apps, once tools for privacy, now cloak recruitment pipelines. And with AI, extremists are mass-producing propaganda faster than ever. Authorities like ASIO warn that technology has become the new frontier of extremism, borderless, anonymous, and disturbingly efficient.
right.
So go ahead.
So when I did a paper on anomalous uses of technology that Al Qaeda was, or improvised communications and technology that Al Qaeda was using in 2007 for a conference. At that point, extremist organizations were already heavily engaged in encryption and cryptography and Stego and all that kind of stuff. But so that actually isn't new. The part though that is new in this report is the acceleration from artificial intelligence. That part is new. And the other part that is new is the kind of social media environments that are being used. That also is new because that's evolved. And it's the game use in itself is not new in the sense that in early 2001, 2002, and in the mid 2000s you already had Hezbollah had a video game, Al Qaeda had a very rudimentary.
Oh, and they don't need to even be in their own video games because they like the same video games anybody else does. So they just need to like get in there and get a chance to talk.
Right. So you already had extremist supported or extremists actually created video games in the early and in 2000s. Now, though, what you have is, in addition to actual extremist games being made, and anybody can develop them and throw them up on Steam or another platform, you also have, though, extremist infiltration or mass extremist infiltration into big tech game platforms such as Roblox.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
So that also is different than the way it was previously, and that's going to be hard to get a grasp on as far as how to moderate it, because it's not being moderated effectively. And on top of that, how do you police it?
Right, and then as parents, how do you monitor your child's use of it?
Right. And one of the other things I think is when you say parents and monitoring is traditionally and even now the emphasis has been on monitoring the youth on what they're doing online. But in actuality, that's not fixing the problem. That's just adding a level of monitoring or surveillance. And so in actuality, you need to empower the youth to be and educate them so that they can be more engaged themselves in that digital responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I wanted to point out that this video itself is AI.
Yes, this is true.
It just kind of, it's not pretending not to be. So, there's that. But it just shows like this is kind of like the process right now to get material out to people. And so this organization, Geneva Council for Rights and Liberties, they put this out there to try and like let everybody know about this, but they used AI to make it easier for them to get it out there as well. And that's the stuff you're seeing everywhere. One thing that I would ask for people creating videos like this, that robot voice is so harsh to listen to, I think. You can get better ones on 11 Labs, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, you can clone your own voice on 11 Labs.
You can, yep. And they can have like, some emotion you can control their like tempos and that sort of stuff on 11 Labs. It's pretty cool. All right, we're going to drop this one out, and we still have another video. So this one, again, same topic. Let's just go ahead and this one is focusing on the video game aspect. All right, so I'm gonna like rearrange this a little bit just so the show's better. There we go. All right, here we go.
At first glance, this footage looks like any other video game. But we soon realize the terrible reality. The detailed reproduction of the video of the Christchurch racist killer who murdered 51 people in New Zealand in 2019. We have found dozens of similar games, reenacting massacres of far-right killers, like Utoya in Norway.
All right, so here we're talking about the example you had given where somebody actually creates a game. And it's really not hard even for young people to create games right now, because there's a lot of these game processing engines that they can kind of tap into. And basically it's taking, some set types of scenes from other games, and you can just kind of customize them yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that that is a part of the issue is that people can make whatever game they want, and being able to make games is a good thing. But when you're making it for nefarious nefarious purpose for like recruitment or indoctrination, that's a different issue. At that point, it's not a good thing. I think again, though, it goes to parents being able to talk to their child about empowering them about responsibility, and also to look at who is creating these kind of games. And I think more research needs to be done to look at to investigate which groups or actors are putting these out.
Oh yeah.
Like in this instance, they found a cluster. They did find a cluster. So I think that's another thing is who is trying to influence or engage youth through games like this. That's on the flip side of it. And then part of me, it looks at it as a debate on censorship, and when is censorship something that should be considered? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no easy answer to that. I remember the 1980s when people were arguing about rock music. I mean, you could make the same kind of argument toward video games.
Which they do. They do have the E for everyone kind of label, or else, other labels for the video games. But you don't see that when you're already in the game.
You don't see it when you're already in the game, and you don't see it necessarily with craft games or hobbyist created games that are not mass produced through a big store. Those games might not have E for everyone, or M for mature audiences.
Well, and it goes kind of like when you think about social networks, like when somebody builds a social network, the last thing they're thinking about is security and legal issues. They're just trying to make things cool and people talk together and whatever. So the same thing with games, they're trying to make it cool and fun to use, and not necessarily say, oh yeah, we need a rating for this. So that,
Right. So I think that this is something, though. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis placed on, we have to look at, the age of the social media platform and whether or not a child should be on the social media platform. That the issue is much broader than that. The issue, extends to gaming, and gaming is.
It doesn't matter the platform. They're gonna, they're gonna. I mean, you don't let your kids on this platform. You let them on a different platform. Well, the people who are trying to recruit youth are going to go to that platform as well.
Right.
You need to be able to recognize and maybe educate your child about like things to look for. I'm not sure. I don't have kids, so it's like, but it boggles my brain. Yeah. It's certainly an interesting. It's certainly a very interesting topic. I remember, when it first came out that extremists were using gaming in the early 2000s, that there was a lot of disbelief about that. I mean, this is not something that is new, but again, it's just the scope that people are able to produce and put it out, and what groups are using it. So the games that were back then, those were dealing with more organized terrorist groups or clusters. The ones that are coming out now
some of them might relate to a terrorist group or cluster, but a lot of them are just supporting an ideology or an extremist ideology that feeds into violence. So at that point, you have to look at when the parent needs to know that these things exist, talk to their youth about it, and one of the big things is like with my teen is I just ask them, what games are you playing?
And but then they might say, oh, we're just playing Roblox. But then also people in Roblox can rebuild this sort of scenario too.
Oh, absolutely they can. Yeah. So, but I think having that open line of discussion is really, really important. And then also there's a tendency for some, and you have to find a good line on where that line is with your kid, but there's a tendency to want to shield your child from things that are disturbing. And a lot of times that child has already seen some of those things that are disturbing. So by not talking to them about it because you're shielding them from it, in actuality, you might be blocking communication with them on what some of those problems are. And so
maybe even encouraging them not to talk about it.
Right, exactly. And so it's really important to talk to them about these topics, like, okay, there is extremism in gaming, and here are some examples of things that have happened in gaming that are a threat to safety. And then, that cross applies to social networks. When I discuss sextortion with my teen, I mean, he just started laughing at me because he wouldn't. It didn't fit his personality, but we had a very candid conversation after that about how this has happened to other people in his age groups, and he was very surprised, and that we had I think we talked for about half hour about it. So I think it's really important to find that age appropriate discussion with your youth, and not shelter them totally from it, because they're going to get exposed to it.
And it's better to be with somebody who explains it rather than just
right. And so they also know what are the warning signs to watch out for as well.
Okay, let's see what the next one is about. All right. This kind of gives us a throwback to 764, this next one. There we go. Networks of Harm, a victim-centric information resource on the 764 Sextortion network.
Yeah. So this was just put out by the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, I think around November 6th. And this is a really helpful guide for investigators, law enforcement, teachers, parents, and I think it's a good backgrounder to be able to read it and look at it. And then you have talking points for youth that you can talk to. And some youth might, depending on their age, some youth might actually be able to read this themselves, I mean, like older teens. So, I mean, I think this is a very helpful guide. I thought it was very insightful. It certainly explains what to look out for.
Yeah, and look at that content warning. It's a big paragraph.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you're protecting your kid from, by making sure that they can see some of these signs and stuff, so that they don't go down this unwittingly, I guess, and then become radicalized.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Continuing on with our theme, let's talk about the Soufan Center's article, "The Online Radicalization of Youth Remains a Growing Problem Worldwide."
Right. So this is a recent article by the Soufan Center, and I like the bullet points, actually. Their bluff pretty much lays it out. One of the things that I thought was good is they mentioned how the algorithms are being utilized for hurting populations or demographics, including age demographics. And so once you have algorithms that are hurting a particular age demographic, if the algorithm is hurting that demographic toward things that would end up doing radicalization or extremism. So X, even though it says that, you have to be 13 years old to be on X, if you go on the X platform, I mean, there's people being trafficked on X, or possibly trafficked on X. There's people being advertised for prostitution on X. There's people selling drugs on X. But there's also, neo-Nazis on X. There's dead people being shown on X. There's people, showing how to make explosives on X, or at least
It's
there
not
was.
just X. I mean, that's just like an easy one to grab, but there's plenty of these could be. And even ones who do try to moderate.
Right. And so the point is when you have an algorithm that is also charged to incite or divide emotions, because you get more viewership when you do that, whether it's X or another platform, that is not necessarily the best platform for youth to be on. I mean, you could argue that that's not a good platform for some adults to be on. If somebody's going to get all riled up and angry because the algorithm is helping them get riled up and angry, maybe you shouldn't be on there in the first place.
Monetized outrage.
Yeah, exactly. So that, again, that's helpful to talk to youth about, but it's also goes deeper than that, and I will be discussing it a little bit later on. For youth, there are no platforms that are big tech platforms that have youth factored into the design of the platform.
Mm-hmm.
X was not designed for youth. Facebook was not designed for youth. That was not factored into the algorithm when it was created. That was not factored into the, secret sauce or the recipe. So there's already a foundational flaw there that can provide cracks or crevices where youth might be recruited or
another big one would be YouTube. Another big one would be YouTube. Yeah. I mean, although there's YouTube Kids, like, even some of the stuff on there is like not necessarily ideal.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I did like the point in this report specifically on the algorithm and talking about how algorithms impact youth.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Continuing on our subject, let's talk about when it takes it to the real life, IRL, right? Takes it from online to IRL.
Yep. So there has been a lot of NVE incidents over the past 5 to 10 years, but it keeps growing. And a lot of that NVE violence is not.
Let's highlight what NVE is. And so it's right here. Nihilistic violent extremism. Basically, mean there's not an ideology necessarily to it. They're just doing it to do it. Sadism, masochism, that kind of stuff.
And they're being fueled by, conspiracy theories, misinformation, disinformation.
Or even just like trying to get each other to like outdo each other.
Right. Yeah. So that too. Yeah, absolutely. So that continues to grow as far as NVE online. And then you also have groups like 764 that try and egg it on or promote it. And they are specifically trying to recruit youth for NVE. So I think that this was just a very good brief overview article on how memes even memes, when they are wrapped in with other messaging or platforms or actors or screen names, or that can also influence your youth toward indoctrination or recruitment toward violent extremist activities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so if you have a meme that is dehumanizing humans,
Yes.
okay, which is an excellent example,
Mm-hmm.
that would be something that would be kind of a red flag to talk to your youth about, and say, oh, do you realize that this meme is dehumanizing toward that group of people?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we have AFP, which is Australian. Let's see.
Australian, I think, federal police.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
So this is a September 2024 AFP warning on SEO, sadistic sextortion online, and they in Australia they are actually making PSAs, and they're being very active with talking to the public about, hey, this is a problem that you have underage humans that are being recorded, not recorded. Well, some
Recruited.
is recruited for sadistic sextortion online, and this problem is not just in Australia, or the United States. I mean, it's global. So
It is, and I just highlighted, in some cases, the offenders are the same age as the victims being targeted. So this isn't like adults necessarily coming in and targeting your kids. It's other kids.
right, and that
were probably targeted at one point themselves.
Yeah.
And now.
And that also raises some interesting legal issues, because you could have a youth that ends up being categorized as a minor predator. So, I mean, I think one of the reasons I pulled this example, though, is that I think that Australia is really on top of putting out PSAs on this topic, and that they're being more proactive versus reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. And again, this is going to go talk to the same thing in the AFP again. Here's a report, actually a fact sheet.
Mm-hmm.
The AFP Sadistic Online Exploitation Fact Sheet.
Right. So the Australian Federal Police Force, they put out a whole entire fact sheet for parents and youth caregivers and teachers and general public on what is SOE, why should you be concerned about it, who's at risk, and some of the basic things that you should look out for. The biggest thing I would say with this is talking is actually making youth aware of it, because if you have just adults talking about it, but it's not actually shared with youth, then they might not even realize they're engaging in it.
Right, exactly. Because I think that's how most of them start. It's like they don't realize how they have exposed themselves to somebody who's going to victimize them.
Right.
And then that's the beginning of it. Yeah. So the next one is a video. It's about youth and not at the same time. I mean, it's about a father who goes the extra mile to take care of somebody who had groomed his child online, and then was taking the child after already having been convicted and released. So I'm going to play the first section. There's actually 2 clips in here that I'm going to play. So I'm going to play the first clip.
2024. Aaron Spencer took matters into his own hands, killing the man who had allegedly abused his 13-year-old teenage daughter. Some people say he did what any parent would have done, that he acted out of instinct, love, and pure rage. Others say he went too far, that what happened that night wasn't justice, it was murder. And according to the state of Arkansas, Aaron Spencer wasn't defending his daughter. He was committing a crime.
Okay, I'm going to take it to the other section that I wanted to show of this one, which is at 1838. So let's take this little thing out here. There we go.
Since then, the story's taken another unexpected turn. Despite still facing second-degree murder charges, Aaron Spencer announced he's running for sheriff of Lonoke County. When he first said it, people thought it was a joke. A man facing murder charges now running for a top law enforcement position?
Okay, so I want to kind of, and again, the link's going to be available if anybody wants to go further into this video, but the case for this one, so an online predator contacted his daughter, met in person, and then he was jailed, was released on, I'm forgetting now if it was on parole or if it was like pre-court release or whatever, but contacted the daughter again, and she at first didn't want anything to do with him, but then she snuck out with him. So he saw that she snuck out, he went out chasing, and when he caught up to them, he ended up killing the guy. Now, here's the question is this justifiable murder or justifiable killing or not? Because the guy was in the car with his young daughter. What was he planning on doing? I don't know. There's a lot of things to it. Then this aspect here of him running for sheriff has to do with him like not believing that justice would have been done otherwise. And the reason I kind of bring this part of it up is I almost think that we need to have this discussion on this isn't how running for sheriff is not how he's going to be able to change that. Running for Congress would be, right? In my opinion. What do you think, Sarah, about this case?
Well, I think that you have legal venues that you have to follow, and even if you're a parent, you need to look at what legal venues are in place to protect your child. I think also, the state of Arkansas has some pretty weird, I think it was the state of Arkansas, said some pretty weird laws in the book also, like where, somebody can marry at a younger age in extreme circumstances. So which I don't agree with, but I think that if he broke the law, that's not an effective way of fixing the problem.
Well, okay, so here's the question though, and here's the debate. Was he, when he realized it, did he get his gun and he's like, I'm gonna go catch them, I'm gonna kill them, or did he chase after them thinking I got to get my daughter back, and then at whatever point decided that he had to use his gun? Because it could be that the crook was going to harm that girl. If you had,
yeah, I don't.
It's likely that the crook was going to harm that girl in some way.
Yeah,
but was there a way to do it without shooting him?
I don't know. I would need more facts on
exactly.
So, yeah.
But again, this is just like an extreme case of someone who grooms a child online and kind of what happens.
Well, but one of the things I think from the perspective of protecting youth is to have that conversation with all youth on what is grooming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and most of them don't understand what grooming is.
No, and if you educate them about it, they may be. I think they're perfectly smart enough to realize that, okay, somebody of this age shouldn't really be talking to me like this.
Right.
Especially if they're educated about what grooming is.
Right.
Knowing that person's going to take it further and further and further each time, to get away with something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Let's see. Okay. Here's another one that went too far.
Mm-hmm.
So. Twitter killer. He was executed this summer, but he targeted women on social media after they expressed suicidal thoughts.
Right. It just wasn't women. It was underage. So, like, for example, the youngest was 15. Mm-hmm. This was an example of adversarial open source intelligence, though, because it combined with social engineering and adversarial acumen. He would look at the victim's profile, gather information about them. He would figure out where they were, what they were doing, and then he would commit his crime. And I think that a lot of people don't realize this, especially children, how easy it is to track somebody down. There was that one prior game online that was Take This Lollipop, where it used to you would put in your name into Facebook, and then it would show a fake adversary going down to your house to get you. And I don't think that a lot of people understand how easy it is to maybe do that. So, in this instance, this guy very effectively used Twitter to drill down a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so the location stuff, people, you don't need to have location services for somebody to do this, because, often enough, we will say where we are, or especially if it's like, kind of something that helps give you status. I'm at such and such club, or such and such party, or such and such whatever. And then somebody can watch the patterns. And if you're there every Friday, well, then now they know where to intercept and try to meet you. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, okay, another extreme one.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is another grooming on Twitter.
Yeah. This one, the person groomed the teenage boy on Twitter, and also did geolocation. So again, it's just not realizing, that innocuous, even, and this can even be a flaw with some parents, and it's not the youth at all. A parent could post their kid online.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And show where their kid is.
Mm-hmm.
And their kid can be stalked from the parents' post.
Right.
So in this instance, this was an instance where the kid was being groomed online. So it wasn't, the parent wasn't engaged in that. But it really makes you think, as a caregiver, or as a adult with a child, is what is your youth posting online, and how are they protecting it? Like, how are they staying safe? Mm-hmm. It's not just, what are they posting as far as monitoring, but what steps are they taking to make sure that they are safe online?
And again, it could go down to education, where if you teach the child, hey, okay, so this kind of information out here exposes you to this. So maybe we kind of keep that information to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The interesting thing I thought about this one was, despite numerous chances to stop it. And that really is kind of going into, and I can see down here that it's, things didn't go fast enough. Search warrants, investigation, that sort of thing just didn't go fast enough.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. This next one is one that you had actually mentioned. I think I got to change my window size again so we can see the whole thing. There we go. All right. So I feel like it seemed very familiar. Did we already show this one in a different post, in a different IRL? We might have.
Okay.
But either way,
mm-hmm.
You were mentioning how it's not new for somebody to be groomed or radicalized online. This is the third
Mm-hmm.
generation of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is a whole report on this from Jacob Ware, GW, George Washington, Program on Extremism. And so you can see first generation, 84 till the mid-2000s, second generation, mid-2000s to late 2010s, and the third gen is late 2010s to today.
Yep.
So I love this kind of stuff. That's very interesting to me.
Well, and I would argue with the AI, you could say that we're starting to go into Gen 4.
Possibly, yeah.
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 So.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about protecting the kids now. Some resources. So here's one of the resources.
Yeah. So this is actually an organization based out of Europe, and the Five Rights Foundation. What they do is they look at the actual design. Well, they do a lot of things looking at youth and digital safety, but one of the things that they do is they argue that that youth have digital rights. and just like any other human has digital rights, that youth have digital rights, that those rights should be respected, and also that and protected, and that you should consider the structure of things on the internet as it would apply to youth. So if you have a social media platform, when you create that social media platform, that would be a part of the design, is appropriate design for youth. That would be incorporated at the front end when you're creating whatever it is. And I think that's really important, because that has been primarily overlooked up until now.
Right. So if you're going to build something, unless it's going to be specifically 18 or 21-year-olds from the start and always going to be that way, you got to also think about who are your youngest people are going to get in there. And they're going to get, even if the 13 is the youngest, that they're going to get in there earlier than 13. But even the parents are going to get, oh yeah, here, let me set you up an account, and they're 8.
Right. And the age verification, a lot of the age verification rules or requests, the way that they're coming out right now aren't necessarily effective. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And with artificial intelligence, again, it's really easy to make fake IDs. So I think that this is an excellent resource. They also work with youth, like they get youth interns and stuff like that to actually engage with them, so that they get perspectives from youth on what's important to them. And I think it's a great organization to look at for some of the information that they put out for safety as well. So.
All right, the next resource, one of your favorites, and that is IEEE.
Yep. So I thought this was great.
About the design again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought this was great. Is IEEE several years ago they came out and said, we need to have age appropriate design when we're making something in the first place, and that needs to be at the front end. And they actually made a standard. So they have a standard, just like ISO standards, that you can go look at and say, oh, here's a standard on making age appropriate design. It's already on the shelf. We can take it and see if it applies to the project we're working on, as far as a social media platform or a software platform or a game or whatever it is. So I think that this is again a very excellent resource, and it also shows some of the flaws that exist with like algorithms and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Another resource. It's the FBI. They actually have a page for helping students.
Yeah. So the FBI has a whole page dedicated for youth. Some of it is for younger kids. Some of it is for older kids. And they have like little teen academies. They also have some games on there. And then they have some pre-made descriptions of things that you can already have your kid read before you talk to him about stuff. So there's a thing in there like on sextortion. So you could say, please read this. The youth reads it, and then you talk to them about, well, what did you read? And then you can have a conversation about it. I think that there's several resources like this. But I do think that the FBI's resource is fairly comprehensive, and I do think it's very useful.
And it has the name FBI on it, so the kids are going to be like, oh, well, maybe we had the videos with the FBI warning the beginning of them back in the day, but like this is something like it's not just random so-and-so putting something up there. It's the FBI telling you how to do the safe online surfing internet challenge.
Right. And
that's not like
that's the other thing, is they have done gamification of some of this to actually try and relate to the youth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And as we go through more resources, what happens when you do find that you are running across a scam, especially sextortion.
Yeah. So the cyber tip line, this is actually even like the Department of Homeland Security. If you're in the United States, like if you're outside of the United States, it's a different issue. But if you're in the United States, this is the primary tip line for reporting things like CSAM or sextortion. The Department of Homeland Security even has a hot link to this resource. So you would go here. It's very easy to follow. I've used this site multiple times for submitting tips for things that were on a social media platform. So you just follow through and you just click the things that relate to you. If it doesn't, if you're not sure, they even have an I don't know. But it's really easy to fill out.
Another resource coming up is the NetSmart resource. NetSmart's home.
Yeah.
There we go. And so this is, again, this one's really, really aimed towards children. You can just tell from the graphics. Season 3.
And this one would apply. This one kind of appeals more to younger youth versus like, a senior in high school, just because the way it's packaged and the way that it's designed. Yeah. But it is a good introduction, and it's something that you can certainly have youth engage in. And even if your youth, like mine, says, Mom, this is too easy, or this is too simplistic, or this is, which is not by any means all youth, but you are going to have kids that are that way, then you just couch it as, okay, you might think that, but there are other youth that don't think that. And okay, if this is not easy, how can we talk about this? Or are you curious about it? Or can I, provide any additional details? Or do you have any questions? And have a full conversation, not conference.
All right. Another resource. Very resource for parents.
Oh, and I wanted to add something really quick on sextortion. One of the things with youth and sextortion is obviously the topic of sex, and that is a very uncomfortable topic for many youth, and they feel very self-conscious talking about sex. I think it's really important for parents to stress to their youth that there is absolutely nothing that they could do that would bar them from telling you about sextortion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important for them to understand that they shouldn't feel embarrassed to talk to you about it.
They're the victim,
right?
But they should also not be embarrassed to be the victim as well. That's like in elder fraud. That's a major thing.
Yeah, that's a major thing in elder fraud as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, GCF, which I think we actually had something earlier from GCF, but anyway, Internet Safety for Kids.
Yeah, they have a pretty good website with tutorials and resources for kids to utilize, and they break it down by topic with quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
So and a lot of the tips on here are very practical, like some practical tips for mobile devices.
I like that there's this many things, and I don't think that you can have too many of these type of resources for your kids.
There's tons. I mean, there's a lot. It's just that because this is a 1 hour Twitch cast, I just, we only are able to present a few.
Exactly. And we wanted to make sure that we included this next one, which is Sarah's own Blue Sky account and her Mastodon account. Sarah, go and tell us what Cyber Sleukies is.
So Cyber Sleukies is something that I started during COVID, and it is a program to assist youth to become strategic and empowered digital citizens. And so what that includes OSINT tradecraft for youth to help them engage in effective research. including information verification and how to assess information and the quality of information. And then the other part is OPSEC. So OPSEC for youth, operational security for youth, which includes also how to see some of the flaws and what their parents might be doing with their OPSEC. And then the third part is emerging technology and empowering youth to use emerging technology and not to be afraid of emerging technology, including artificial intelligence.
But use it wisely, like what to share and what not to share.
Yes, absolutely. And the other part of cyber sleukies that has been extended, because I have a silent partner in crime, not crime, but silent partner. Crime fighting, who really cares about elder fraud, is cyber sleukies also is going to include a section on the same concepts for seniors. So empowering youth and empowering seniors. And as far as like what we're empowering with, one is a aggregation of useful resources that are already pre-existing by other people, like reviews, like I kind of do for the Knowledge Portal, but a bit different. The second is some occasional blog articles or podcasts or Twitchcasts. And the third is courses or online classes. And those wouldn't necessarily be done by me. Sometimes I would be asking guest instructors. This is actually going to be set up with donations at first versus a set pay tier scale, because it's something to assist the community.
Absolutely. And this is also your Mastodon page right here. Can you tell people what sleukies are, just in case they don't know, and why you named it Cyber Sleukie?
Yes. Okay. So I named it Cyber Sleukies because sleukies are on my dress. And I have two right now. But no, sleukies are a kind of dog. They are a sight hound. They are very intelligent. They're very agile. And they're very fast. So I think that I wanted my program to be intelligent, agile, and to be able to empower youth to be able to relate to things in a timely manner. And also another part, I've just backtrack. One other thing that Cyber Sleukies also does is to talk to youth about their tech time and balancing it. Because when you look at how youth are using technology today, when they go to school, they're given a Chromebook. The Chromebook is doing surveillance on them. They're attached to the Chromebook at school. They're using their cell phone. They have a TV. They have an iPad. So it's not a tech addiction thing, more than a how do you balance your tech time effectively with other things. And to also have the youth gauge out other people in their environment are using technology, including their parents.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Last of all, our normal last thing, we're going to do our AI slap of the week.
Oh, can I say one other thing real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. If you have any questions about Cyber Sleukies or would like to assist Cyber Sleukies, my email address for that is cybersleukies@protonmail.com.
And we will put that in the show notes as well. And soon there'll be also a website or a page to go to.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Ready for some slap?
This is the slap of the week.
This is the slap.
Weirdo. Such a weirdo.
That is weird. He's a hamburger man.
It is a hamburger man. But that it is our slap of the week, and it took maybe 3 seconds, and there's people who watch AI slap for hours. So
it's fascinating on Sora. It is just fascinating. Yeah. So I can see where that could be done. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see everybody next week. If you're interested in joining us, you can go ahead and join our community, which is available. We'll have the links in the show notes. And on Friday, we will discuss what's going to come up on next week's show.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye.